feel better.
Yeah, thanks, I already am. Vodka works every time.
How would you like to take some of the conflict you have in your marriage and talk about money? Now, it's no secret that money matters is one of the most frequent sources of conflict amongst couples. In my marriage is certainly no Camelot when it comes to that. We've had that issue in spades over the last 10 years. We purchased 2 cars, built a new home, we have gone through 1 master's degree, we have now 2 wonderful boys, and 5 years ago we transitioned from a 2-income household down to a 1-income household. So we've had plenty of tension when it comes to talking about financial matters. But we have finally found a tool that has really helped take some of the fire out of those conversations. So let me ask again, are you interested in taking some of the conflict out of your marriage when it comes to talking about money? On the papers in front of you, I have the tool that we use. We call it the Target Spending Plan, and it outlines this whole thing in 4 very simple steps. The secret to the whole thing, at least for us, has been it takes something that's very complex when you're talking about finances, makes it very simple. And then for us, more than that, it makes it very visual. The first step is this. You can't get around this one. You have to create a budget. There's no way around that. You have to track where every single penny is going. And the simplest way to do that is get yourself a software package. Microsoft Money, Quicken, something like that. Then you can use those canned reports coming right out of that to know where every single penny is going. Now let me interject a little point here at this stage. If you're the type of couple that can sit down on a Sunday evening over a cup of coffee and go over a budget report, line item by line item, and talk about what you're going to spend this week, that's really all you need. But my wife and I, that is not the idea of a romantic evening, going over a budget report line item by line item. Especially with 2 boys, we want to sit down and watch a movie that doesn't feature talking trucks. So we moved on to some conversations. That's the beginning of step number 2. We had 3 conversations in particular. And for you, if you decide you want to take this approach, you might want to do it over 3 date nights, make it a little bit more fun. The first conversation you need to have is this. Talk about where you are in comparison to the average. And in your handouts, table 1, I copied a nice resource from Crown Financial Ministries. The only one I know that has done this, but they list a set of averages on a percentage-wise basis. And you can use their averages for family and what they spend against one of those canned reports coming out of your budget software. This conversation can be very eye-opening, and the goal is you want to get on that same page with each other. And this, for us and our marriage, we found out we're a little bit overspending in some areas. We're doing good in some, but in some areas we're taxed a little bit more than usual. And that was kind of the source of our tension. So again, this conversation is going to get you on that same page. The next conversation you want to have is this. Start to talk about creating a financial plan. Think about where you want to be a year from now and then well out into the future. The best way to do that is pick up a good book from an expert. Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, Larry Burkett, some you know and respect. Their financial plans are quite similar in nature, but use that once again as the basis for a conversation so you can again get on the same page with each other. Once you've kind of gone through those conversations, you're ready for the third one. This one looks bad, but it really is quite simple. And this one I've outlined in table 2. I've taken one of those canned reports, and we went through and we highlighted it. We sort of categorized all our spending. So the goal is what you want to get out of this is categorizing all your spending so that you know what you're truly obligated to and what is truly discretionary and flexible spending. I listed some categories that we used. Things that we're obligated to pay are your mortgage, bills. So we highlighted those right off. And then we looked at things that were urgent and important. Like the car needs gasoline. You can't stop, run home, check the budget, see how we're doing. You got to fill it up. So you need to make sure you've got some sort of an average there that you've gotten out of your software that you can plug in and use that number as you go forward. Also, you want to build in those financial goals that you discussed. You want to make sure you've allocated some money for your 401k, your college funds, whatever long-term goals you have. And then last, you want to decide what your lifestyle choices are going to be. Now, a great example here is, do you want to have a health club membership or YMCA membership, something like that. When you're done with this conversation, you'll have a list of categories that you said, we want to make sure that we have all these things taken care of. They're set aside, we have enough money for them, and we don't need to talk about and worry about them anymore. And then you'll have a list of categories that are unhighlighted, and that's your truly discretionary spending, or flexible spending from one moment to the next. When you've done all that, you are ready to move on to step number 3. Step number 3 is this: calculate your target number. It's pure arithmetic. You take your income, you subtract out all those things you have identified that you need to set aside money for, and then perhaps build in a little bit of margin there for something's going to go wrong. You know, one of the appliances in the house is going to break down. So you want to make sure you've got that into your financial plan. You'll be left with one number that is your discretionary spending. Now, in my family, what we've done here is we've reduced that onto a weekly basis, and that's made it very simple. And you also see there in Table 3, what we've put together is a tracking sheet. I mentioned that this makes things very simple and very visual. The simple part of it is, like I said, we have one number, and we only have 9 categories that we're tracking. And it's very easy to talk about those 9 categories than this whole long budget report, and I think in our family has 70 or 80 categories in it. And then on a tracking sheet, as you come in each day, you make an expense against one of those discretionary categories. You simply subtract it off from the number. But the next thing I talked about is this is visual. It's right by our door as we walk in. And so everybody, as they're walking in and out, they know exactly where we are from this week. We don't just sit down and talk over a long budget report. We already know it's one number to look at. It's very simple for us to say, how are we doing on the spending? Well, we've got $110. Well, we can go out and eat dinner this weekend. That sounds great. And then, once you've kind of gotten that together and you've worked at it for a while, the next thing you'll need to do is step 4. And simply this: every now and then go back to the very beginning and go through the process once again. You want to keep that number fresh so that you stay current with gasoline prices, food prices, but also you want to make sure that anytime you have some sort of change, that number stays current. For example, you purchase a new car, there's a car payment to be concerned with, or you get a raise, a new baby comes along, something like that. At least quarterly, go through it, make sure that it's current. And that's it. Very simple. The target spending plan for us has been a great tool. Like I said, it takes a lot of that fire out of our conversations when it comes to talking about financial matters. For us, it's been very simple. It's been very visual, which has been very helpful in making our conversations much more productive. If you have some conflict in your conversations about financial matters, this just might be the tool that works for you. I encourage you to give it a try. Mr. Chilson.
Very interesting and